Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing the Nosy BookTuber tag with some extra nosiness from Donoghue. So the tag was originally created by John of Written in Blood, and obviously I'm doing the extended version by Steve Donoghue, so I will be linking both down below. So, question number 1. How many books have you read this year? I am currently on my 73rd book. So I've completed 72 and I'm working on number 73, and I have had 15 bales of You're Curious. Question number 2. Of the books you've read, which is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? So of all the books I've read this year so far, my favorite is Big Wonderful Thing, A History of Texas by Stephen Harrigan. My least favorite, The Last Romeo by Justin Myers. Expect a Renty review on Friday. Number 3, or question number 3. Do you have a favorite time and place that you like to read? So during the work week, my favorite place to read is on one of the couches in the living room because they're comfy. I can sit up. I don't like to read in this chair because that it hasn't fallen apart is a miracle. I am hard on my chairs, and this one is about to give up the ghost. And I don't particularly care to read in my bed. I don't have enough covers or pillows to comfortably sit up. So I tend to go into the living room and read on the couch. So during the work week, I read from 3 to about 6:30, although I'm also making supper at that time too. I really should extend it out to my reading to like 1 or 2, but yeah, maybe someday. And then during the weekend, I'll read again on the couch in the living room from about 10 o'clock in the morning to about 7 on Saturdays, and then 6 on Sundays. Oh yeah, and of course cooking and doing other needed activities during that time too. But that's pretty much the one of the couches in the living room is my favorite place to read. Question number 4. How many hours per day do you have the opportunity to read? Actively I read for about 3.5 hours during the work week. I could probably extend it to 5.5 if I wanted to. After about 6:30, I like to try to get some writing in. So about 6:30 to 10 o'clock is my ideal writing time. And then during the weekend, it's generally maybe 8 or 9 hours, give or take. But I mean, it fluctuates. Although I could read more than I do, but like writing and other things. So, question number 5. Do you read only physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? Or some variation of the 3? So my preferred method of reading is physical books. Obviously, I have a lot of physical books here, but with the pandemic, I have some of the books, particularly I've checked out from the library, I've gotten through ebooks, and I'm not necessarily, they're okay. Reading ebooks well enough, but I much prefer physical copies. I much prefer holding the actual book in my hand rather than reading electronically, particularly given The library's books you have like, or at least I guess the program that my local library uses, you have about a 2 hour period, and then you basically have to log back in, and it annoys me quite a bit. So yeah, I much prefer physical cop books, and as far as audiobooks are concerned, don't like them at all. I listened to the audiobooks of American Predator and In the Dream House, and was not particularly thrilled with either one. So I don't read ebook. I don't listen to audiobooks. Sorry about that. Number 6, or question number 6. What is your main pet peeve when trying to read? I guess interruptions, particularly if like I'm really getting into a book and then something interrupts me, or if something comes up that basically makes my reading period significantly less than it is. Say having to travel or unexpected visits. I kind of get a little testy with that. And as far as actually reading, it's usually if something annoys me within the book. Question number 7. What is the strangest place you have found yourself reading? I want to say when I was in 6th grade. Yeah, it would have been 6th grade. I had checked out of the library, the junior high library, War of the Worlds. And in 6th grade in Texas, towards the end of it, there's a sign-up period where if you want to join athletics, you want to try out for the junior football teams, like that 7th and 8th grade have football teams in addition to high school football. So if you want to do those teams, or at least when I was in school, you basically had to sign up for athletics. So basically it was in 7th grade. I don't remember exactly how many kids were in my grade, but it basically was most of the boys ended up having like their own PE period. And so it ended up being me and like one or two other, like the 7th grade PE class was incredibly small. So yeah, so most of them signed up and went through a lot of the registration, whatever they had to go through. But since it was like all of the boys had to go, I ended up just sitting on a stone bench under a tree and read War of the Worlds. And I did not give a hoot what anybody thought of me. I'm reading this book. I don't give a hoot about sports. So, anyway, I would say that's the strangest place I've ever read. Also, another strange place I've read, I think I was going in college. I was in Austin, and there was a gay youth group called, I think, Q. Although it might have changed its name before since. That I would go to some afternoons, and one day I think they were closed for some reason, and I didn't know. So I was basically waited around and just read for a few hours, like waiting for them to open or something. And they never did, so then I eventually walked to, I don't know if I either walked to the bus stop or I just walked home. Because at a certain point, particularly towards the end of my time in Austin, I basically would walk everywhere. And it was a really fantastic experience. I loved walking in Austin. Okay, question number 8. Are you a critical reader, or do you read just for enjoyment? is there a difference? I mean, there is enjoyment in reading critically. So I try to read mostly for enjoyment. I mean, obviously, I have no other real reason to read but for enjoyment. But I do have a very critical mind, and I am always sort of critically reading a book. And I do derive a lot of pleasure from actually reading critically. It is quite fun. Um, Going through and interpreting, criticizing, it's great fun. Okay, so now these are the Steve Donoghue additions to the Nosy BookTube tag. Question number 9. Is there some one specific thing that will immediately prompt you to stop reading a book? If it is something that so enrages me that I want to throw the book across the room, I will stop. Or if I am so bored that I am looking for any excuse to stop, I'm going to check my emails or something, then I should immediately stop. I really should be a whole lot more bailing than I am, really. But it's usually if it's something that enrages me, I will immediately stop. Also, if I have to cook, and if it's something I need to keep an eye on, I'll stop reading. And obviously also food too. Of course, eating is during peak reading time. So, question number 10. Have you ever actually fallen asleep while reading? No. I mean, I have kind of like started to have like eye strain and sort of getting tired while reading. But my solution to that is I'll actually stand up. And I'll read a book standing up for a few hours, and that'll work. I think when I first started reading Enzo Traverso's Fire and Blood, I was starting to get a little sleepy in the early chapters, so I just stood up, and the tiredness went away, and I really enjoyed the book after that. Question number 11. Have you ever stolen a book? Why, you naughty thing. No, I haven't. Unless I was, so when I was at St. Edward's University, where I went for undergrad, every year they would put out some books. I guess they were going through their collection and unhauling or withdrawing books. So they'd have little library carts outside that you could go through. I'm not entirely sure whether or not they were free or if they were for sale, and whether or not I just picked one up and took them or not. I do know you were supposed to go in and get them sort of alerted. Basically, get them to like not make the alarm go off if you took them out of the building. So I don't know I don't remember about that, but I think other than that, I've never stolen a book. I've always paid for them. Question number 12. What are your specific methods for dealing with book snobs? Generally, I just let them talk themselves into a hole. Is my method. Although I really don't deal with book snobs because the people I hang around with are either not bookish or their tastes tend to the more popular. My mom reads mostly romance or romance adjacent thrillers, as do my aunts. Basically, there's a circulating lending sort of family library between my mom and her sisters. So yeah, but otherwise, yeah. not really all that high literature or the kinds of literature that would lead to snobs. Not that necessarily there aren't like genre snobs. I mean, there are like science fiction and fantasy snobs. So, but I haven't really had much encounters with any book slobs or snobs the last few years. Question number 13. Look at your immediate surroundings and answer. Are you in control of your books, or are your books in control of you? Well, I can't see over there. Hmm. Okay, insofar as oh wait. Okay, so insofar as organization is concerned, I'm pretty sure I'm in control of my books. Although I probably want to do a bit of a reorganization at some point. But I mean, as far as like organization, that I'm pretty good at. Although the number of books that I have been ordering the past few months, quite worrying. I mean, the current book haul is going to be about 13, which I will probably do Friday. I was going to wait until, the end of the month, but I'm not going to get any more books in, so I probably should just go ahead and do a book haul Friday and resort them. Now, if we're talking about the number of books I want in my collection, oh yeah, they are in control of me big time. I want more books. I just want more books. There are 300 and some odd books I have in my Libris wish list. You probably saw one of my videos where I went through the bottom part of that. There's about 50 or so on Book Depository, and then I have at least over 302 wish lists on Amazon. So, and the books I want to acquire, they are certainly in control of me. Although, actually, financial reasons is like I'm not completely swamped in books. Although I would like to be. Question number 14. Have you ever watched a movie, TV show, and wished it were a book? Actually, I mean, I do sort of agree with Steve Donoghue's thought of novelizing at least Star Trek Voyager and Deep Space Nine, because I think both of those series really would have made a fantastic novel or series, particularly Voyager. And I think Deep Space Nine, if like heavier focus on the main arcs of the show, I think that would have made a fantastic novel or series of novels. What else? Would have made that's not already a book. I think maybe King Cobra, but I've never actually seen it, so I don't know for sure. I don't know. Maybe Babylon 5. I think Babylon 5 would have worked as a novel or a series of novels too. Now that I think about it. We'll go with Babylon 5. Question number 15. Have you ever written to an author? Yes. One of my professors was George Clowitter at St. Edward's, and he was friends, or he is friends with the author or the poet Edward Field, who I was doing a. So when I first went to Book People, I bought uh, the poetry anthology Word of Mouth, which is a collection of, or an anthology of poetry from gay American poets. And one of the poets who really jumped out at me was Edward Field. And I gradually, over the next few years, collected 3 of his collections. Um, Counting Myself Lucky, which is a selected edition, which I still have, and then Variety Photoplays and Stars in My Eyes, which I sadly don't have anymore. I wish I did. And I might look into reacquiring them at some point. But yeah, so I was going to do. So I wrote a paper on Edward Field for my honors thesis, and Professor Klobutter was kind enough to give me Edward Field's email address, and so we corresponded for a brief period of time. So yeah. Um, Other than Edward Field, uh, not really. I mean, I think Edward Field would be the only one. And then there was, well, I mean, George Klobutter himself. I mean, he was a poet. And then another one of my professors, Catherine Rainwater, has at least 1 or 2 critical books out. So yeah, they would count too. Although I haven't really talked to any of them in well over a decade, unfortunately. Um, is there any other? And I think Jeff Vandermeer commented on a review I did once, but I don't think that would count. Question number 16. What is your sorting ritual for new books? Table to floor to shelf, or more roundabout? So basically, when I get new books in, I will basically open the package, because most of the books, well, right now all of the books I get in are through the mail. I order them online and I get them through the mail. So I'll open the package. If they are cookbooks, I will go ahead and just put them on the shelf in the cookbook shelf in the kitchen, because that's where they really should go. And then if there are books that will come into this room, which is pretty much my bedroom and my library, I will put new books right here. This little section formed by this bookcase. Like there's a little, yeah, no, that's where I put my new books. And then I will wait until the end of the month, and gradually this section will fill with books. And then towards the end of the month, I will pull them down. Obviously, now that I'm on BookTube, I will do a haul video, arrange them in alphabetical order, type them into my personal library catalog, and then I will shelve them. So with science fiction and fantasy, it will mean I have to do a bit more rearranging, because I have my science fiction and fantasy in alphabetical order, which, if there's not a whole lot of books, can end up being quite a nightmare. Everything else, I don't quite have much of an order for them yet. My history books, I'm going to try. I wanted to do them by period, but I think I have to do them more by size, because the shelves on this bookcase and this bookcase are not uniform. So as long as my history books go on those bookcases, the organization's not going to be very, yeah, it'll be disorganized. And then this bookcase here, so far I haven't really organized them either. And that's the literary, realistic, contemporary fiction bookcase. So yeah, so basically new books come in, they go there until I haul them and log them into the library catalog, and then I shelve them as needed. And that was the Okay, my computer is wanting to act up right now. The Nosy BookTuber tag. So if you enjoyed this tag, or if you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. Thank you, BookTube, and I will see you tomorrow. And remember, stay safe.